and welcome to this session, Solving Tactics on chesstempo.com with the Advocate. Today we're going to do something new. We're actually going to record from my webcam. So if you've been watching this series this whole time and you're wondering, oh, who is that person with the incredibly boring voice? Now you know. Today's 1800 to 1900. Let's go ahead and get started. Queen d1 doesn't actually work, but it's an idea. Or I'm sorry, Queen d8. But Queen e2 is an idea, right? Queen e2. And where's the rook going to go? He can't go to d8. He can't go to f8. So Queen e2 wins the exchange, no? I suppose I could also play Queen e3. But what is the difference between Queen e2 and Queen e3? Now the bishop can go to e6, yeah? The queen could also go to e6. So Queen e2, Queen e3, Queen e6 haven't really accomplished much, yeah? Queen e3, Queen e6, or Bishop e6. Queen e3, Queen e6, Rook d8, Queen takes e3, Pawn takes e3, Rook takes d8. I lose a piece. So that's just dumb. I'm very attracted to this idea of using the back rank rook. But Queen e6 just holds everything together after any first move by white. Every response I see is Queen e6. Some other shenanigans. Rook e1 doesn't work because of rook takes with check. Queen takes, and then again, Queen e6. So this makes me feel like the original idea, Queen d8. But then Queen d8, Queen e6 again. Same idea, yeah? What about Queen d8, Queen e6, Bishop e7? If rook, well, rook can't take, but if queen takes, I can take the queen for free. And if rook takes, there's rook d8 mate. Rook e8, rook takes e8 mate. Queen d8, Queen e6, Bishop e7, Queen e1 check, Rook takes e1, Rook takes d8, Bishop takes d8, and I'm up a rook. queen d8, queen e6, queen e5, forced. Pretty much. Then bishop e7, threatening to take the rook and mate. And is there any way to stop? I don't see a reasonable way to stop it. Bishop e7, 2 bishop e7. So queen d8, bishop e7, rook takes. Okay, so there was a response. There was this. But now I have rook takes d7. Queen e1 check, king h2, queen e5 check, g3, no more checks. It's important to take with the rook so the bishop remains defended. Tarakawa with the white pieces from the Tarakawa variation. Someone is saying, someone keeps downvoting the mate threat tag on this problem. But yeah. Anyways, let's see. Wrong moves that happened in this position. It's yes. Someone said that it's an elegant solution. It is. It's a very elegant problem. Very elegant. Queen e3. Queen e3 is the most common wrong move. Yes. So these are the moves that I considered. Queen e3, queen e2. Actually, the first move that I considered in this position was queen d8, but I just decided that it wasn't working. But so then I went to queen e2 and queen e3. And I explained sufficiently why those. I hope I explained sufficiently. I hope that you think that I explained sufficiently why those weren't working. So rook takes, pawn takes, queen g8 is mate. Rook takes, pawn takes is forced. Then what could I do? Queen takes g6. H takes g6. Rook h4 check. That doesn't work. There's bishop h5, rook h5. Some way to threaten one of these bishops. Like rook takes, pawn takes, queen e3, queen takes d7, queen h6, bishop h5. So it doesn't work. There's rook takes, pawn takes, e6, queen takes, I don't have c3 check. I have queen f7, or I'm sorry, queen f2 in this position. Queen f2, rook takes f4, queen takes. And then if queen takes d6, there's queen f8 mate. Or I'm sorry, if queen takes d7, there's queen f8 mate. Queen f2, rook takes, queen takes. What am I threatening there? Nothing really. I don't see it. I mean, there's rook takes, pawn takes. I'm up the exchange, I guess. So just queen e5, rook takes, pawn takes, e6, queen check, queen takes, knight takes. And then I'm covering f3. So there's no bishop f3 check winning the rook. Is that the point? Just trade all the material. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would give up a pawn. So there would be compensation. Rook takes, pawn takes, and knight f6 would also be like that also stops. It holds e5. I like it dials in additional threats. What if I go the other way? Rook takes, pawn takes, and let's say like queen b3. Queen takes d7, rook check. There's bishop d8 stopping everything. I'm having trouble understanding the purpose of the problem. You know? Rook takes, pawn takes, rook b1. What about rook b1 right away? He can never take my knight. Well, rook b1, he could take the knight now, yeah? Since there's no rook takes f4 yet. Also, I'm not convinced that king g7 is some sort of killer blow. Yeah, I don't know what I've spent way too much time on this problem. I don't know what's going on. Um, I said e6 and queen e5 would ensure the exchange. Um, There are other moves. There's knight b8. There's knight f6. I'm gonna lose a pawn anyways, yeah? So might as well just exchange. Oh wait, but now there's queen b8. Now in this position, queen b8 is on. Queen b8, king g7, queen f8 mate. So now I have queen e5, queen g7, and pick up here. But no. I have queen e5, queen g7, queen e8 check, queen g8, then pick up here. I mean, it was just taking too long. It was just taking too long to solve the problem, and I couldn't just let my dear viewers listen to me solve problems for that long. But yeah, that rook is a real fucker, isn't he? But yeah, it was an interesting way to sort of like watch the problem solving process mature, because I was starting to think about this b8 square after like minute number 3, minute number 4. I'm not really clear what d6 is really threatening, but or e6. But black to move. So the argument is that rook b3, king c6, rook f3, knight e6 check, king h6. That's a draw, or I'm losing. That's the argument here. So rook takes. I mean, there's also rook takes, knight e6, and knight takes c5. Rook takes, knight check, king h6, king g6, king f6. Probably king f6, since it allows me to keep an eye on both pawns. It also stops further knight checks. Although king h6, you could make the same argument. Rook takes, knight check, king f6, knight takes c5, hitting the rook, rook b1. Now the knight's stopping b3, but the knight's going to have to move to make pressure. Yeah, but if you do that, I'm just going to take on h3, so you don't take with the knight. Yeah, there's no way you take with the knight, because otherwise you lose h3, and your king isn't on b4, so I'm going to take on h3, and your king won't have the chance. So definitely king takes c5 is the move. Rook takes king c5. Now rook b1. Let's say king b5, using the pawn as shelter. b3, knight check, king f6, knight d4, b2, and how's he going to stop the pawn? Rook There is no in-between move, right? Rook takes b3 is definitely the move. Rook, king, rook. There are other moves here, I'm sure. There's got to be other ideas like giving some sort of in-between move or finding some sort of check. But rook, king, rook b1. And he needs to stop b3, b2, b1, rook somewhere, and b1 queens. I've pretty much established that he can't take with the knights because he'd lose the h3 pawn, and my king is going to get in to stop c3, to stop c8 queens. So rook takes b, king, rook b1. Rook f3 is a total waste of time. Knight check, king f6. Wait, is it a waste of time? Rook takes? Because then I would maybe be better organized. Rook takes, king takes, rook f3, knight check, king f6. Knight d4, hitting the rook. And if rook takes h3, king takes b4. So no, I don't like that line. I like the second line that I calculated. Rook takes, king takes, rook b1. Knight check doesn't really work. So instead, he needs to play king b5. King b5, b3, c5, b2, c6, rook c1. So rook b3, king c5. If he steps to the d file, it's too dangerous because there's definitely going to be a promotion tactic later. I don't really feel like I need to calculate that. And I seem to be able to hedge off the... Okay. I didn't like this line. Okay, this is something I did consider. This is something I did consider. Turn down the sound. But so yeah, the idea here is that this king is going to come stop this pawn, and this rook is going to come stop this pawn. You actually do like a switcheroo to hold the draw, or to win the game. Anyways, all right. So king f6 was correct. Rook d3 was a move that I saw, but I didn't finish the line. Because for some reason, when I had it in my brain, I had the rook on d5. Yeah, when I had it in my brain, for some reason, the rook was on d5, protected by the pawn, not by the king. That was stupid. I can already tell you I hate this problem. It's one of those, the game is already so won, why the fuck am I playing anymore? Down a rook in the exchange, though. I can easily get one of the pieces back, but clearly I'm headed for mate town. So knight check, pawn takes, queen check. Or no, knight check, pawn takes, bishop check. If king e7, queen check is mate. If king takes, queen check is mate. So knight check, pawn takes. Knight check, knight check, and king g7, queen h7 is mate. Knight check, king e7, queen d6 is mate. Knight check, pawn takes, bishop check, king takes, queen check is mate. Knight check, pawn takes, bishop check, king e7 is mate. This one, yeah. I don't like that problem at all. Oh, I should have given it a low rating. I hate the game is already won problems. I hate that. Trying to find a good reveal with the knight, but nothing so far. Now there is queen d3 check, king g2. I haven't sacrificed any material. That's hilarious. I'm not down any material in this position. But the king's on f3. Okay, so the objectives here are either going to be deflect the rook or deliver checkmate, right? I'm either trying to win a queen or I'm trying to deliver mate. Maybe both. Queen h5, king g2. Knight f5. Doesn't threaten anything, unfortunately. Queen takes d3, rook d3. Rook f8, king g2, rook takes f2, king takes f2. No. Queen h5, king g2, rook f3, or I'm sorry, rook f8 with the idea of queen f3 check. Queen h5, king g2, knight g6, and where is the queen going to go? h3. Now, in that position, do I have like knight f4 check? G takes f4. No. I don't see it. I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing a good move. I mean, obviously there's queen takes d3, but I'm looking for that pow. I think there's something about the reveal that's going to limit the queen. There's something about this position that's just going to take away the queen. Take away the queen's squares. Is there some way that I could displace the knight? For example, queen h5, king g2, d5. Knight d2, knight b6, knight a5, and then do I have anything from that? I don't see it, and it's taken me 7 minutes, so I'm just going to play queen h5 check. Um, and now if I play knight f5, where's the queen going to go? If I play knight f5, the queen has no squares. That's exactly what I was saying. Knight f5, and now the queen can't go back to h3. And if the queen goes to d5, there's knight check. Um, take it, or just move away. Step away. Queen g5. I mean, rook h1 check. Rook takes e6. That wins a rook. That wins the full rook. Queen takes h1. Wins a full rook. Queen g5. Yeah, it's better to be a full rook for the queen than to lose a piece for the queen. So let's just take this and then take this. I think I was pretty certain that I could win the full queen there. For example, if just queen g5. I can't take anymore. Oh yeah, because of rook of knight f7. Okay, now all of a sudden it's much more difficult. Yeah. But if black played anything that wasn't knight d6, I could have probably continued to win the queen. But she also could have just sacrificed herself on f5. Okay, that was the last problem for this session, just because it's gone a little bit over time. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that this becomes a more regular thing that I can do with videos. And until the next time, good luck with your chess journey. Bye-bye for now.